Now you look at another movie. It was called The Day After. It was shown in the 1980s. So when Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States, and Ronald Reagan was a very hawkish president. He wanted a strong army. He wanted Star Wars. He wanted huge military budget. Now Ronald Reagan saw this movie, and this movie shows that if a nuclear war takes place, it doesn't show the destruction of entire humankind, but it shows that large parts of the planet Earth will be destroyed, including large parts of the United States. And he saw that movie, and he was so impacted that he contacted Gorbachev, who was then the president of the Soviet Union, and he sought a meeting with him, and they met in Reykjavik in Iceland. And Reagan proposed that nuclear weapons should be completely abolished. So he was not willing to renounce the war, but he was willing to renounce the nuclear weapons, which could lead to the end of humanity. That was the power of a movie. Of course, in addition to movie, there were a couple of other developments took place. There was a young woman there, and she launched a movement called Freeze, and people got so motivated by her that they marched in New York, more than 1 million people, and they asked for peace. So he was impacted by actions of just common people, and he was impacted by a movie. Two things happening at the same time. So medium can be a very powerful instrument, now including movies, including the media, including the newspapers. Some years ago, a young woman in Pakistan and a young woman in India, whom I knew, both of them, they did an interesting study. They analyzed the media content of the print media over a period of 5 years or 10 years in Pakistan and in India, the national media. And they asked a question: is media a weapon of war or a purveyor of peace?
Good question. Yes.
And they asked this question. The question you're asking is media a weapon of war? And what they found was amazing, with documentary evidence of media content analysis from both sides. What they found was that media is neither a weapon of war nor a weapon of peace, but it is a handmaiden of government. So the content analysis showed that whenever the leaders of two countries wanted peace, suddenly the media started glorifying peace, and the media started talking about the virtues of cooperation between India and Pakistan, and understanding and people to people contact and trade and everything. And whenever the government decided that they wanted to go on a hostile path for whatever reason, because they always blame the other party, the media suddenly decided that they wanted to promote enmity, and it's gone up and down like this. That so the media on its own was never a weapon of war nor a purveyor of peace. It always followed the cue from the government. I had another experience. It's also about India Pakistan, but it's about the British media. In 2002, long time ago, the Indian and Pakistani forces were face to face on the border, and at that time, Atalji was the prime minister, and I had good relations with his advisors and people around him. And I knew that there was no possibility of a war, and that the Indian prime minister and the Pakistan leadership and nobody, that this was all little bit of a you can say brinksmanship, but there was really absolutely no possibility of war. I knew it. So when I was arrived in London, suddenly all the Fleet Street media, all the big newspapers contacted me, and they said, there is likely to be a war on between India. I said, look, I I know. I mean, there is no likelihood of a war. There is tension, but there is no likelihood of a war, a big war. I was taken to the office of one of the newspapers, and they had prepared a huge map on the front page, a major world newspaper on the front page with graphs which showed how Pakistan would bomb Mumbai and how minute by minute Mumbai would get destroyed. And I said, look, and similarly they are done for how if India bombs Lahore or whatever. How so? I said none of this is going to happen. But they said that our government, the UK government, has said that 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 there will be a war, and you put out the stories that there will be a war, uh, and they just wanted me to confirm. Now I couldn't tell them that I was talking to somebody in Delhi, but I told them I'm running a think tank, and I have good analytical skills and all, and I go by evidence. I don't go by emotions and
Hmm.
by rumors. And the evidence is not showing any indication of war. Evidence is only showing tensions. Evidence is not showing war.
Hmm.
But the media just wanted to push the story of of a of a war. Now I'll give you another example from recent times. The Ukraine war in its latest phase started in February 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. But 1 month later, in March, Russian president's representatives and Ukrainian president's representatives met in Istanbul, and they entered into a peace agreement. And this peace agreement was signed by their representatives. It was not even verbal. There's a document which has been signed. It has
Interesting.
been signed, and that document was taken back by their respective representatives. And this happened in March. And there was going to be one final meeting on the 9th of April. And after that, Zelensky and Putin were set to sign. And this Ukraine war was almost ending, which is going on. This was an agreement signed. I have seen the document. I met the witness who was in the room. And I have
Interesting.
followed it at depth. Okay. But during that time, now if I know it in Mumbai, of course the world media had to know. But the world media totally boycotted this story. World media deliberately boycotted this story because they wanted to promote the concept of war. And then Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister of UK, took advantage of this, and he went to Kiev in the first week of April, and he forced Zelensky not to sign.